we'll go into a demo. So hi, I'm Tom. I'm one of the co-founders at Offstage, and our slogan is basically, we'll help you know your fans better than ever with AI. So we founded the company earlier this year. Myself and two others, we kind of have a background at Spotify, Intercom, and Amazon, and we kind of observed that musicians didn't have optimal tooling for their personal fan data. We saw that musicians' careers are very similar to running businesses, where data plays an essential role. Yet musicians, labels, managers, and others are really struggling to maximize their own data. Their data is scattered across different platforms like Shopify, Eventbrite, Linktree, Facebook, and more. And it's difficult to work with. It requires a lot of manual editing to kind of actually utilize it. And data is only going to increase in volume as more platforms are created. And just every year, there's just more data. Today, there are some options for managing fan data, but they're not optimal. So you can manually compile and analyze data yourself using tools like Google Sheets, Excel, or you could use a corporate solution. And those are really designed for businesses. So they're really complicated and difficult to work with, and they're not really thinking about musicians. So we like to think that we've made something better. And essentially we break this down to three things. What we've done is we've made data centralized, we make it understandable, and we make it actionable, and all with the help of AI. So by centralized, we mean we essentially pull data from the different platforms that musicians are using, such as Ticketmaster, Shopify, and MailChimp. And you can just connect those data sources, and we pull down from them regularly. We make it understandable. So a user can just log in and type a question in plain English, and they'll get the answer back to them. So they didn't have to do any database queries. They didn't have to even think about the database structure. They just have to think about what they want to ask. And then we make it actionable, because once you ask a question, we make it easy to turn that into an action, like sending a text or an email. So in this example, you could type something like, which of my fans in Los Angeles have bought merchandise from me before? And then you can just easily send a text and an email to that subset. So that's kind of a brief overview of what we do. And I just want to give a demo. So this is kind of what a user would see when they log in. We have this insight page. So if we go to the integrations tab here, you can see the platforms I've connected already. So Ticketmaster I have connected. So I'll just show you what it looks like to connect a new platform like Shopify. So my Shopify website is called Offstage Band. I just press connect. This redirects me to Shopify, where I will log in. Lots of logging in with Shopify. Okay, hopefully this is going to work. Cool. Yep. So I'm now in Shopify, and I'm going to install the Offstage app. So once I've granted access in Shopify, Offstage is going to start pulling down that data from Shopify. So you can see I've connected it, and now that data is being pulled from my Shopify account, like my orders, my merchandise sales. And this is basically a similar process you do with all your platforms that you're using. And then here you can just type in a question. So now I've got ticketing and merchandise data here. So if I click the merchandise tab, I can click this example, like, what is my most popular merchandise item? And now this is being converted into a database query and getting the result straight away. And you can see that's the Liquid Room poster, and there's been 3 sales of that. But you can also, other than using these prompts, you can type in any questions. So like, who attended my last event? This is, again, converting that question into a database query and then presenting it back as a table of fans. So these are all the fans that came to the last event. Another example might be how many items have been sold since the last event. So kind of a complex question. It has to understand what was my last event, what date was that, and then how many merchandise items have I sold since the last event. So it's come back with an answer, but there's a bit of nuance there. And then I guess, yeah, basically that's just a few examples. We're still working on it, but ultimately the idea is to make it easier for someone to ask a question and get them the answer that they need. And we have kind of different ways of presenting the data back, like pie charts, that table that I showed you, or just like an instant answer. We also have like a website builder. So if someone doesn't have anything yet, they can just create a page to collect data from their fans as well. Yeah, that's essentially a quick overview of Offstage, and we'd love to get in touch with anyone who wants to schedule a demo, set up their own integrations, and start playing around with their own data. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So everyone that's watching, feel free to ask some questions now. And while they're typing up their questions, my first question is, what is kind of the most popular thing that the artists are asking for, the artist teams are asking for in there?
Right now, a lot of people are asking for, it's more on the integration side. So like we found that some people, a lot of people don't have the data on like a specific platform. They might have just CSVs, and so we're trying to figure out how we can support like someone being able to upload just a spreadsheet of data. So although we're trying to avoid spreadsheets in general, it's like we still need to support those kind of like messy data stores as well, and kind of bring them into this ecosystem of structured data from Shopify and things like that. And there's still a lot of value to be added from just having a spreadsheet and being able to type plain English questions as well.
Yeah, amazing. No, I think that makes total sense. I'm just thinking from like a logistical standpoint, since I'm currently logisticking at the moment, being able to kind of connect Google Sheets since it's auto updating is probably a really good like middle ground between like uploading a flat CSV file and having, like a full on API connection. So yeah,
Right.
something to think about. Cool. We have a question from Dorian. Dorian asks, have you figured out your pricing yet? And do you already have customers? Who's already kind of using the platform?
Yeah, so we've kind of got some fixed pricing for like individual artists looking to use the platform. So one user, one artist is just kind of a monthly fee. Right now, the cheapest plan is $10 a month, and then we have $50 a month. We're based in the US, two of us, and so we've kind of got the dollar pricing. But we also have kind of like a custom plan because we're still figuring out for those management companies, for people who have multiple artists and have multiple users, they're going to have, we haven't kind of worked out what the best pricing would be. And so our current existing users are these like very small independent artists looking to understand their data. And they've been kind of how we've built out the platform and validated the concept, just speaking to people at live venues. But now we've had some outreach from music management companies. We're now trying to figure out, okay, how their use cases are quite different, and they have like a roster of maybe 50 artists, and they might want to ask questions across all of those artists. The platform, how do we kind of combine the data from like the different artists and don't make a mess of that? So that's something that we're really figuring out now.
Amazing. I will flag that's probably a very interesting question that Chartmetric has figured out. And I think I saw Michelle in here earlier from Chartmetric. So if you haven't had a chance to connect with her, definitely have a chat with her because that's a space that they've been figuring out for some time now, I suppose. I think we'll have time for one more question from Felix. He said, how do you differentiate from industry agnostic solutions? So what makes you special in comparison, like what makes you special for music related uses as opposed to someone using like a standard or a non-specific product?
Yeah, I think we kind of feel like the primary thing that makes us stand out is just kind of that the messaging and the simplicity. So I think a lot of it can be quite intimidating to go use like these agnostic platforms that are marketing to businesses. A lot of the terminology they use just isn't appropriate. So they're talking about customers, they're talking about acquisition, they're talking about retention. And while some of those terms are kind of appropriate for the music industry, I think they're off-putting for a lot of people. And they just, I think that's one of the value adds that we have, is that by really gearing things for the music industry, you can make it really specific. Even the types of integrations we support, like Ticketmaster and Shopify and MailChimp, they're really like geared towards the music industry. But I think it will be something that we continue to think about. But I think I wouldn't underestimate how much value there is in just keeping things simple and specific for a segment, especially for musicians who often do just want to focus on like their work, and they don't necessarily want to think of their career as a business. That's something that we found really early on. Was a lot of people didn't like it when we used the term customer, and a lot of those businessy terms, using fans and talking about fans, was really resonated a lot more with people.
That makes total sense. Wonderful. All right. So those are all the questions for you. Thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks, Christine.